Hello and welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, Paula. How are you?
I'm good. Oh my goodness. So much has changed since you've been on.
Yes, it has. Everything has changed.
Yeah. Start with an update because it's exciting and everyone needs to know.
Well, the last time we spoke, I said be your own CEO, and apparently I followed through, which is amazing. And I
You
started my
did?
own firm.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. Tell
started
us about
a
that forum.
yeah. So it started as a training thing. So I left my last job and I thought I'd just start small and start with training my friends and cousins and their friends in India and just teach them how to CAD. Um, because, for our population back home, it's just really hard to get a job if you don't know how, like, the basic skills in AutoCAD and all that. So I thought, okay, well, I'll train them. I didn't take any money from them or anything, but I thought I should give this a shot. And I was having so much fun with it the first couple months. But I
Yeah.
did speak to a couple of people, and they told me, don't do sole proprietorship. Just if you're starting a business or something, just go in corporation because it's $500 extra, and your accountant is going to hate you if you switch a year after. Just do it. I'm like, okay. So I incorporated, and a couple of people heard about it, like some of the contractors I used to work with, some of the friends I used to work with in Brockville and Ottawa heard about it. And they were like, oh, it's about time you started your own firm. And I'm like, really? Like, what? And they cut me a PO before I had my business number set up with CRA. And it just kind of started rolling. And my vision at that point was just working in manufacturing plants because I kind of missed that world.
Yeah.
And that has not been the case. The last 3 years, I haven't even stepped like into a
Three
plant. And I'm just,
three
yeah,
years.
3 years.
That's so awesome. Congratulations. That's so
Thank you.
awesome. So tell us about your team. How many people do you have working with you and where are they?
Yeah. So the first 2 years, I had about 12 people working with me, and they were all over the place. They were in mostly in India. I was working very closely with my cousin. She's in Iceland, and her and I we built our website from scratch. We took 6 months to build our website. Every line, dot, dash, color, everything was like handpicked, handcrafted, and so she was in Iceland. We were working on that time zone. Then I had a couple people in the States, like in DC and LA, and I was training them. So these were girls who studied with me, like bachelors, and they became, one became a mom and she had a kid. So she kind of fell out of the engineering world. So I taught her how to CAD so she could get back into it. And then there were 6 or 7 people in India. One wanted to become a reporter. One wanted to be in the animation world and do animated stuff for like movies. And they had all these dreams, but they had an engineering degree. So I thought I'd give them that, basic skills in engineering. So eh, go ahead, have a second job, do your dream. And if that doesn't pan out, I got you. Like you can always make money through me. Like it's okay. So that's how everything shaped up the first 2 years. But people fell out and they
Yep.
got their dream jobs and it worked out for them. They loved it. And right now I have two full-time people. They've been full-time since the beginning. um, and one's a structural engineer who knows a bit of mechanical and is now doing electrical for me, and one's a mechanical engineer who is now very good at electrical.
That's
So I have two
amazing.
full-time people in India. Yeah.
That's and I that's something I wanted to talk to you about was your belonging and diversity and equity and how you're implementing that within your own company and how globally we all could be doing a better job at that.
Yeah, so we all talk about diversity and inclusion, which is great. But I think we forget to talk about the belonging aspect because I just did an interview a couple days ago, and that's what I was bringing up because I've felt too brown for Canada and I felt too white for India, and I haven't
Mhm.
felt like I've belonged in either of those places. And this has been like a 13-year story, right? So belonging is hard, but the onus is also on us. It's on like the individual. So finding your own community where you have like similar values with
is
them,
key.
that helps with the belonging aspect of it. And even if you're in a firm where it's not as diverse and they're not as inclusive, finding that one or two people you click with, um, just finding common ground. We can find a million differences amongst ourselves, but finding something we have in common, it goes a long way.
I think that is really important. People kind of forget that. We focus a lot on making sure everybody has a seat at the table, and, you know, people are trying to implement more, equal parties of gender at the table. But that sense of belonging is often missing, right? So you have a seat, but you're not really fitting in, or the company's not really embracing your new ideas or your other concepts and things. And so, um, I, what are the things that you do with your team because you are remote? I'm assuming you got teams in India to make sure everybody actually feels like they belong.
It's hard because it is hard. The first couple of months were really difficult because the trust wasn't there, right? We've only been working together for 3 months. I don't know if you're sleeping or you're working, right? So it's a lot of communication, lot of conscious communication and forced communication. um it's a lot of that. It's a lot of forced communication. I don't care whether you feel like talking or not, but we need to talk about this because this is going to cause issues. A year from now we're going to have bigger problems.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I doing to implement the feeling of belonging? um Focusing on a common goal. Why are you with me? Why don't you go get another job? You're with
Right.
me because you like being with me, you like learning from me, you like getting real life experiences as opposed to being, and like, the work culture is very different in different countries. In Asia we have the bench culture, like you sit on the bench for 6 months or 8 months before you get a real life project. That's not the case here, right? Yeah, so you like not being on the bench. The minute you start working with me, I give you a real life project to work with. You like that. So every time you're frustrated or angry, go back to the why. Why did you start working with me, and why are you still with me 3 years later?
Yeah.
And that helps them kind of focus back. Like, we have a lot of distractions. We're kind of like, what's our common goal? Why are you with me? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I know, with the company that I'm currently working with, we have some global members as well. And I find that we use memes and chats and check ins and things as well throughout the day. And I always try to engage them with, what are you doing on the weekend? Or like, tell me about the holidays that you're celebrating that I'm not aware of, because we live in the different side of the world and stuff. And so, um, I try to make it very clear that I'm very interested in knowing what their culture is offering and what they're celebrating on the weekend. And same as I share a lot of snow photos and let them know about things that I'm doing. I often find that globally people kind of are more aware of what's going on in North America than they are the opposite, right? So,
Yes, yes, we're very isolated here, and it would help to watch Al Jazeera or BBC once a week. I don't know.
right, right. So, I have noticed too on your LinkedIn that you have a lot of great women in your network.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
I
Yeah.
want to talk to you a few minutes about those women, maybe how they've helped you along the way with your career path or where you want to go, how you support them. Tell me a little bit about that,
Um,
those relationships and the
yeah,
networking.
I think over the past decade, I don't have women engineers I have worked with that I can look up to. That's a really horrible thing to say, but it's my reality. There's a lot. First of all, there aren't a lot of women you work with. A, B, they're not really immigrants. So the struggle of an immigrant cannot be, it's hard. And I don't expect you to fully understand it, but also I don't want to fully explain it either.
Right.
So the only friends I've had are scientists and chemists who I've worked with in some plants, and I've never had a women's network. So it was a difficult pill for me to swallow being in leadership position now. And I realized that the problem was partially me for not looking for these women. So I started going to beer, have beer with like newcomers in Kingston events, or like networking events that were based on like accounting firms, and just random networking events that I had nothing to do with and I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in drinking beer and having wings. I don't care about trivia. I know nothing about rock and roll. Like I'm not from this culture. I don't know. And so I just avoided going to all of these things, right? Because I don't want to do it. But I want a women network. I want a network where I want to connect with. So I started there and I started showing up for these events. And I connected with like incredible women in my community. And they are women in like finance and engineering and in all different sectors. So I made an effort to ask them out for coffee. I became close with them, and we now have like a text chain, and we meet once a month. And so it's really important to take ownership, I guess, and do things that are good for your own self, even if it's uncomfortable. And all of these sound very cliche and like sew it on your pillow type statements, but it really worked for me, right? So that has been a huge shift in my mindset over the last 3 years. There are women who exist out there. There are women who want to see you grow, who are in difficult, like, male dominated industries. And they have achieved a lot of things. You just have to look for them and make an effort to connect, because most of them want to connect and most of them want to help you grow. So you just have to look for them.
And so, have you grown a passion for golf, or do you just do it to do it?
I do it to do it. I'm not good at it. I just 9 holes. Okay, by the 9th hole, I'm done. But if I do the bigger one, I'm like, I'm not getting out of the cart after 18 holes. I'm like, nope. You have the best shot. I don't need to play. It's fine.
I have written an article about that same thing, about how it's like, to golf or not to golf. It's not a question. You kind of got to do it sometimes to be able to network and meet the people that you want. And I think your story there really solidifies that sometimes you just have to go, I don't care about this trivia night, but I'm going to go because I care about meeting some new people and making some friends and connections. And I think that sometimes we get caught up in our own thoughts and our feelings around like the actual small part of the event, as opposed to the whole picture and what the end game can be. And I think that
I agree.
meeting new people and making friends is a huge thing for people, right? And especially as you become an adult and your life just becomes work, and you don't have the ability to just go and meet people with similar interests because you have time to take a course or time to join a league or something, right? So those networking kind of events are kind of how it works, right? So
yeah, I agree.
What's next for you?
That's a great
Where's
question.
your company going? What do you
I have no idea. To be honest, right? Like, I have no idea. I did not think I'd be here, and I just went with the flow. So, like I said, I wanted to get into the manufacturing industry because that's my bread and butter, and I miss it. And there's a lot of creative freedom you have in an industry where you're manufacturing things as opposed to a building where everything is governed by code and you have to do things by code. So that was my dream, but that was obviously not what I'm doing right now, because that's not what the industry that's not what the service sector wanted from me, I guess. So when people come to me and say, hey, I'm renovating 6 washrooms, you want to do it? I kind of have to eat and pay my bills. So yeah, I'll do it. So then the contractors talk about it and they talk to someone else. And for 3 years, I've been in the building industry, and I didn't know I was going to be here. I didn't think. I went to a giant tiger, and I met someone there who introduced me to her board, and they became my biggest client. So it's not random, but it's not where I thought I would be. So I don't have a plan for 2044. I don't plan. I just am going with the flow.
Yeah. And so tell me, because of your name, when you've been speaking with contractors and different folks via email and you've never spoken to them yet on the phone or met them in person? Are they surprised to
Oh,
see
they're
the
so surprised.
beautiful
And it's,
you?
I don't know about beautiful, but like it's so exciting to see their face. 2 weeks ago, I went to a client. I don't want to name, client, but
No.
yeah, we've been emailing for a month, 2 months. We haven't spoken on the phone. We've been emailing, and the minute he saw me, there was like a moment of time with like everything froze, like everything just froze, and he had no reaction on his face. I'm like, yes, it's me. Yep, yeah, I'm the person you've been. Oh, and very respectful. There was nothing wrong with anything. It's just a shock. He just froze. And he's like, oh, so, and then after the whole thing happened, he was like, so you have your own firm? I was like, yeah, you're young. I'm like, I look young, but I'm not that young. So it is been, so that's one category. The other category is, I don't need you. I don't want your help. I don't want you to tell me what to do. I'm just using you because you're an engineer and I just need your stamp. I know what
Okay.
I'm doing. And they have actually said those things, those words directly to me. And I don't take offense to it because I get it. Like the relationship between engineers and contractors are usually a little rocky because of lack of respect from both sides, I guess. So I get it. But I know that eventually when they see my work and as they work with me over time, they become the most loyal, fiercely loyal people that I have in my circle. That just takes time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. You can win over the tough cookies, huh?
They're all softies inside. They just don't want anyone to know it. They're all just teddy bears.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I wanted to ask you a small moment in time. You shared a story about a young lady who was in distress and you offered her a ride. And I want you to tell the story because I've only read a little bit about it. So share that story and then I want to talk about kind of like the moment of like, whoa.
Yeah. Like, first of all, thank you for asking. I can't believe you remembered it. Um, I was driving by and this girl was in this, like, just standing on the sidewalk waiting for someone to give her a lift. And obviously, no one was stopping. So I stopped because I always do. And she got into the car and she was very rattled. And I think she just said, there was a shooting nearby and I need to get to work. And she just da 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 da. And she was just speaking really fast. And I was not able to process anything because I was just very chilled out and I had no idea what was happening. And her biggest issue at that point was getting to work on time because she was late. She'd been late a couple of times this month and she did not want to be late to work that day. So I had to clarify what she meant by shooting. I'm like, shooting, like shooting, or like, were they shooting a movie? And she just looked at me like I was absolutely mental. And she said, no, shooting, like there's cops, they've blocked off this place, but I can't be late. I'm like, you don't want to live? Like, you're not afraid of getting shot? What do you? So that's when I was like, oh, but this was me in my 20s. That was me. And that's
Right.
my sister. I know she is. And that's also my cousin. I know that's my brother. Like, this is who we are in our 20s. I'm guessing she was in her 20s, but it was insane. So when I dropped her off, the gratitude she had for being 2 minutes ahead of time, after I dropped her off, I just thought about it for a very long time. We lose track of what's important. Like, we lose track of what's important because we need to pay our bills and money plays a big role in all our lives. And we just are so focused on all the things that we need in survival mode.
Yeah.
And we kind of have to, I don't know, we really have to make a conscious effort to go from survive to thrive. And that is such a difficult shift to make, I feel like, when you're younger.
Yeah. It's true. When I look back and I just think about like how I was just functioning, getting check, function. Now, fortunately, I'm at a different stage in my world. I'm still working full time, but my children are adults. And I think I look back and I'm just like, where did that time go? Like it was just so fast. And now I'm able to slow down and really absorb. And I mean, my goodness, I think if I was on a street block that there was a shooting, I have the confidence and the ability to call and be like, I think I need to take a personal day and really recover from what just happened in front of me, where it seems like everyone's so desensitized from it. And it's just like, yeah, that happened over here, but I got to stay over here. And one day these folks are just going to kind of implode on themselves with emotions and feelings. And I worry about that.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. The work struggle of like just
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Any tips for these young folks that are experiencing that, or young women who are trying to succeed and become their own CEOs, like someone I know?
I think you just have to do your best
Mhm.
every day and just try and make yourself so important and so indispensable that it won't matter if people are being biased towards you. Nothing else would matter. Nothing else matters. I did my absolute best today. There's going to be days when you can't actually do that. But when you wake up in the, I have this question about so many older people when I look at some managers and, people I've worked with and clients that I work with. And I just am like, how do you live with yours? Like, how do you brush your teeth looking in the mirror? Like, are you happy? And it's such a simple question, but I have never received a straight response for that question. I've asked so many of my friends, are you happy? Never a response. So I think if you're in that phase in your 20s and 30s and you just want to, you don't know where you are and you're anxious and nervous and you just want to, you don't, it's a very difficult place to sit in, but understanding what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing will help you kind of rewire your thought process as to why you're doing what you're doing. And then it'll help you get to where you want to be, where what you're doing makes sense to you and you're happy when you wake up and you're happy to be of service. And yeah, you've had tough days, but that's okay because you like doing what you're doing. And that's where I am now. And I want everyone to get there, not just in engineering, wherever you are, like, construction, trades, doctor, nurse, whatever it is. 18-hour shifts, my brother works 18-hour shifts, and he's excited to go back to work the next day. And I cannot do it, what he does. And he looks at me and goes, I don't know how you do it. So why are you doing what you're doing is a good question you can ask yourself. And what are you afraid will happen if you don't do what you're doing? That fear keeps us trapped.
Yep.
So ask those difficult questions to yourself. And I think that's why a lot of people go to therapy too, because somebody else is asking you that question and you kind of sort of have to think about it. There's no escape.
I think it's really important too that we make sure that we ask our friends and those around us, like, are they happy? Are you happy? And if the answer is not yes, or there's some kind of like wafty hesitation, follow up with like a how can I help?
Yeah.
Sometimes people,
If
they
if
don't
I
even
have
really
the
need help.
capacity.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they don't even maybe need even help. They just need
Yeah.
to chat through something, right?
Yeah.
And be like, I don't know if I'm on the right path. And you have a conversation with someone who's created her own success. And, you can kind of lay out the way that you got there. And it's not going to be the same for everybody, but can give people a glimpse of what's possible. So
Yeah.
I have mad respect for you. I love you. I think
Thank
that
you.
you're awesome.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you, Paula. That's very sweet of you.
I'm glad that you came back on, and I'm looking forward to the next one, and it's not going to be 3 years.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See ya.